Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this or where you are in the world. You're about to see something entirely new. New not just because of what is in it, it's all original student writing and student performances, but new because of what it is. Since March, theater professionals around the world have had to face a great challenge: how to make theater when we can't all be in the same place, the same time, the same room. I was lucky enough to be part of the earliest endeavors in doing that. From a gig at Snowy Range Summer Theater this summer to my work with Connections Theater and Relative Theatrics, every theater professional I worked with, we never quit. Not once, not for 1 minute. Because nothing is going to stop storytelling. Humans have always done it, and we need it now more than ever. What you're about to see is a short film made entirely of new student writing and performance. It was shot piece by piece over the last weeks and months. Some were shot here at the college, others were shot at home. We did whatever we needed to do. We call it Stories from Quarantine. The students wrote it, and their words are their own. Their thoughts, their views, their feelings. This is just the platform. Any resemblance to actual persons, well, you know the drill. We hope you enjoy it, and we hope that when we can all be together again, that you'll be there with us. We belong in a theater, and wouldn't you know it, we're putting the finishing touches on a brand new one, right over there. We'll see you when we can. And now, Stories from Quarantine.
My depression handles my bills, cooks me dinner, cleans my room. My depression studies for my exams, does my homework, folds my laundry. My depression calls my mother, tells her she is loved and that she will stay strong. My depression makes a friend's cancer diagnosis sound like a bad cold. The same way it makes a neglectful daughter's "I love you" sound more promise than apology. My depression has made a presence of my absence, has replaced me in all of my family photos, and does the things I can't find the strength to do myself. In return, she only asks that I sleep. But June was the third month I spent laying in bed. I slept through killer bees, a third world war, a pandemic, and all the while my depression folds me into a pageless autobiography. And I'm starting to think that maybe my depression does a shit job of living my life for me. My depression taught me a trick. If you repeat something over and over again, it loses its meaning. Our existence, she said, is the same. My depression taught me that I am here on purpose. Because I have a purpose.
It's funny the way we take things for granted. How we never appreciate the small things because we become accustomed to them. This never earned a second thought in my mind until it happened. Until all of those small things were taken from me. Until the only way I could speak to my friends was through a computer screen. Until the only way I could go outside was behind a mask. Turns out the small things aren't so small. I couldn't take it for long. I needed to be reminded of what it was like to have these things in my life. I needed to be reminded of what freedom was like. Traveling hasn't been advised lately, but I didn't care. Maybe it was reckless, but I decided to leave on a trip to Oregon, to somewhere I knew, somewhere life still felt like it was moving forward. When I got there, it was clear I wouldn't have to look far for what I needed to see. It didn't stop these people from living their lives. Everyone welcomed everyone. The streets were constantly busy. Every day I met someone new that felt like a friend I'd known my whole life. It was then I knew I got what I'd come for. So I came back home. At first, I began to feel isolated again, but after that trip, I wasn't about to let it affect me again. Because now, I have something to keep me going. Now, I have something to look forward to when it all ends.
When I got that text from you, it took me by surprise. Do you do that a lot? No? Okay, I had a great time in December, but a lot has changed since then. Clearly, look at us. We're in a pandemic. I don't know if this is a good time for us to try again. I mean, we are quarantined right now, not able to do anything really. Maybe we can start as friends and see where it goes from there. Saying that to you in April, I should have known that things were going to go further. What am I saying? It's you. I knew the minute I let you in that things were going to go in a different direction. Because I let myself be vulnerable with you, I dropped my guard and let myself think that things were going to go differently, even though I should have known better. Especially with this year. I took a chance on you, on us, on everything in between. I had changed while I was with you, but isn't that a given? If I hadn't, was I invested at all? I knew you weren't, though. You weren't as invested as I was. You didn't put in as much as I did. But that's what everyone says after a breakup, especially when there's no closure, but you have to let it go. Everyone is saying how proud they are of me for standing up for myself and knowing my worth. But is that really what it was? Or have I seen this before and knew where it was going to go? I can't let you get to me for the rest of time. I can't let you cause me pain anymore. I have to let you go. Life isn't stopping and waiting for me to get over you. I'm done letting you keep me from doing what I need to do. I'm just done.
Looking through the mirror, I don't see the man you see, and I live every day just to show you who I am. Can you show me the way to heal your pain? Can you show me the way? Will you take of me the peace that you need? Will you take of me? When you're lost in love, Your heart knows the way back. It knows where to go. It knows its way home. It knows its way home.
What I'm about to tell you is going to freak you out. It's going to scare you. It's going to make you wish you never woke up. But in the end, I hope you'll thank me for telling you the truth. McDonald's is no longer serving all-day breakfast. I know, it hurt me too. All this travesty, it's been building up to this moment. This moment right here. There's nothing more important or vital happening on this planet. Now you may be asking, how do I go on? How do I live without my midnight McGriddle? But I must tell you to persevere. That you must live on. Even without that tasty McGriddle. I know it's hard. And I wouldn't wish this on my worst of enemies. But you must live on. And one day, all-day breakfast will come back. On that day, the clouds will part, the children will sing, the injured and frail will be blessed with a burst of life. On that day, we will celebrate. But until then, we must live on.
I don't really remember much of that day. Not because it was boring or ordinary, but because my mind was so focused on the turmoil inside. I drove myself to work, and that's when it all went down. I felt it. I wanted to die, plain and simple. I called the person who loved me the most, and of course he was going to do something about it. At first he just tried talking to me, but when he realized I wasn't backing down, he called who I needed. The whole time I was just trying not to cry in front of my customers. I must have terrified him because soon the police came and took me away. As I was being walked into the emergency room, I saw him and he looked angry to me, but looking back, he was as white as a sheet and shaking so much he couldn't even hold his phone. I don't know how much I hurt him because the last face he saw was someone glaring at him for doing the right thing. He called my parents and told them what happened, but couldn't explain or answer any questions. The hospital was a buzz of activity. People asking me family history, if I had taken anything, why I wanted to do this, and what I wanted for dinner. I got to see my parents, and of course, they just wanted to know why I would do something so stupid. Some people came and took away my clothes and gave me scrubs. I was taken to the ward by ambulance, and that is the only ride I want to take in one. It smelled like death. I had to answer even more questions before I could go to sleep. The next day, someone had to follow me around all day, including into the bathroom. Finally, after that, I got to use the phone, and I called my family, and then I called my love. As soon as I heard his voice, I started bawling. I didn't realize how much I had missed him until all I could do was hear him. I apologized for glaring at him and thanked him for what he did for me. I assured him that that was the place I was supposed to be, even if I didn't want to be there. I had to talk about my feelings a lot, but I also got to build a Star Wars puzzle that no one else seemed to be able to figure out. I made paper flowers, even an origami box to put everything in. But what really helped was not having to worry about all of those responsibilities, to have to worry about what was going on the outside. Just be a kid that I never was. Finally, after 4 days, they let me go. I was driven home by my mother, but thanks to COVID-19 and other things, I got to spend the next 2 weeks with the love of my life. When I got there, I was given the best hug I had ever received. Those few days were hard, but I came out on the other end stronger and, more important, happier. I'm not perfect. I still have bad days, but now I know why I need to try and be happy.
This is bullshit. This whole thing is bullshit. It feels like 2020 might as well be a dumpster fire. Just when it starts to look like things are turning around for me, it all burns with the garbage. You know, I just got a new car. Can't go anywhere. Made some new friends. And I can't go see them because, well, no. And you know, it sucks because my parents don't even think that this is real. Not that I don't get enough of that shit working here. Yeah, of course this is real. It's as real as the measles, the influenza pandemic, hell, even AIDS. Those were real and those were treated more seriously than this. And you know, I don't care if you don't want to wear your mask, Karen. Take your overpriced 4-shot Ristretto Espresso Macchiato with 1 scoop of foam and go back to whatever hellhole den you came from. Oh, and for God's sake, wash your hands. Your unvaccinated children will thank you for doing at least that much. You know, I wish I could be home binge watching Stranger Things and Tiger King, but instead I'm here, being exposed, because some people just can't wear their masks. They don't understand the meaning of, well, personal space, let alone social distance. Anyway, that'll be $4.75 at the window.
So during quarantine, I did a lot of binge watching, and within that binging, I saw a lot of shows. But the one that had the biggest effect on me was this show, Winona Earp. It's this Canadian sci-fi show with a lot of representation, mostly for the queer community. So when I started watching it, I was just trying it out. I was bored. I like watching shows. And I said there was a lot of queer representation. Well, within that, the writers showed me this character in their early 20s figuring out their sexuality. And their name's Weberly Earp. She's Winona's sister. So I'm trying to also figure out my identity. So to see that on TV represented meant so much to me. Just seeing that made me feel like I'm not alone. See, when I first started watching the show, I was not in a good place. And my family is not the best. The person I identify as is, well, a whole mess. And coming out to my family as a gender and a lesbian, well, that's not easy. My sister understands me, and she accepts me and cares, but the rest of my family either doesn't or don't want to. They try to talk subtly about how I'm a girl, or they won't use my preferred pronouns. But I've mentioned to all of my immediate family that I identify as non-binary, except for my mother, because my sister doesn't know how she would take it. And that's the scariest part. when I was younger, I wanted to do everything and go everywhere with my mother, but now, because of how I identify, I stay distant. But in the show, they showed Waverly getting outed to the sheriff in the town, and it's this old-timey country town, kind of like the one that I live in. And you wouldn't expect them to take it too well, but they accepted her. And to see that on TV meant so much to me because the biggest fear with coming out is not being accepted. So to see an old-timey sheriff accepting her as a lesbian meant so much and made me feel braver. Another thing the show taught me was don't dwell on things. Life's too short and you might not always have those happy moments, so don't ruin what could be a good moment with just dwelling on something that's bad. And then quarantine happened and I was stuck home with all this anger and it was just bottling up and I took it out on someone or something that didn't deserve it. But then I found Winona, and I learned to let that go. And this had an amazing effect on my mental health. I'm much happier now. I can actually have fun with my friends. I've made new friends, and I can understand who my true friends are. And speaking of friends, the fandom is amazing. They're the nicest, kindest, awesomest people you'll ever meet. And the cast of the show is really great with the fandom too. They're so active and it gives me so many people to look up to. Actually, I got to talk to my favorite actress, Kat Burrell. She plays Nicole Hott on Winona, and I got to talk to her over Zoom. I told her how I was going to college for theater, and she told me she was proud of me and that she was so happy, and it made me feel just so much more confident and ready to just get out there. So through finding Winona, I've found some ways to deal with my emotions, and I've found some hope for my future.
I can't breathe. School was our safe place. We all know this, but when we got the text saying we were switching from in-person to online, my world literally and figuratively shrunk. I mean, I was either at home or at work. I had no other outlets to express myself. I was doing homework until 11, and then I would go into the living room where I would do more homework or watch endless amounts of Netflix. We all know the saying, eat, sleep, drink, repeat. My process was more eat, drink, Netflix, work, sleep, repeat. My days were filled with the smell of French fries, the newness of my rearranged room, the feeling of Netflix at night, where the only company were the people and the TV, the sting of tiny diamond beads that were constantly sticking to my feet from one of my art projects, and the calmness my dogs often brought after a rough day. How are you doing? Tired. It was the only truth I could give freely. I could not tell my parents how tired I was of their advice, nor how stuffed I felt of their rules. I could not even tell them the reason I stayed up so late at night was because the night let me be myself. I have missed out on so many things. The world may have changed, but my life, I missed out on skipping out on prom, the entire day of planning for that, the traditional graduation where you walk across the stage and shake someone's hand, 3 different nationals in 3 different states. I spent 16 weeks planning for the 3 weeks it takes for me to travel. I keep thinking I'll save up enough money to finally be able to do all the travel I wanted to do. But how I keep wishing someday came sooner.
The day that I received the message school was canceled was actually one of the last times I saw any of my friends for a long time. Some for a few months and some not until graduation. It was a very sad time not to see those you love, especially those from church, just missing those interactions. As I lied in my bed, I just couldn't help to think of my friends and missing them. Especially the fact that you couldn't do much with them now as you wish you could. You know, a movie, a nice lunch. Sadly now we can't do any of that because everything is shut down and it's hard. For a long time, the only friends I ever saw were just those at work. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't bad. It's just, they were all I saw for months. And again, don't get me wrong, it wasn't bad. It's just, you know, for the longest time, I just want to see my best friend David again, and all my friends at church, just missing them and just loving them and just, you know, just spreading joy. Then all of a sudden, a miracle happened. My church finally started to reopen, and I saw my friends, and I felt one of the greatest joys I have ever felt because I just missed them so much, and it was just amazing. Then it all got better. We finally started having sleepovers and just hanging out and just having a glorious time. Now, we're just waiting for the day that this all can be over. You know, I never feared this virus because I just always thought it was ridiculous the fact that I could not go anywhere, I couldn't do nothing but work. But you know, I have faith that this will all end soon, and when it does, I will raise up a hallelujah.
Relationships. Relationships are one of the most important things in human life. They come in all forms, including business relations, friendships, and online dating. But the most important part of any relationship is human contact. Knowing what someone looks like is one thing, but actually meeting them in person is something entirely different. Obviously, you and I have met, but you have no idea what I look like. Here, let me help with that. As you can see, you still don't know what I look like. COVID has prevented us from in-person socialization, and so thus we've lost that key factor of our relationships. It's almost as if the people we're talking to on our screens are wearing multiple layers of clothing. I have friends on Discord, but even I don't know what they look like. The most I know about them are a profile picture and a name. By now, you know what color my skin is. But you really don't know me, do you? In order to get to know someone, one needs to know that person by both their physicality and their personality. COVID has caused us to be shut in our homes, and so we've lost contact with the rest of the world. We rely on a name and our profile pictures for that source of contact, and in most cases, a source of comfort. How much contact have you had with your family recently? Have you seen your friends at all? Did you meet your lover in this trying time? I haven't seen my family since last year. And I've only seen my friends 3 times since March. I hope you like the color of my eyes. By now, you know me by my skin color, by my hair color, by my eyes color, and by my voice. But do you really know me? During this time, I've made over 20 friends on Discord. We'll play some games, we'll voice chat, we'll message each other, but I really don't know them. Yet they're one of the many relationships I've formed during this time. Do I trust them with my life? No, I do not. So why do I keep coming back to them and to try and stay in contact with them? The answer is simple. As of right now, they're the only relationships I've got. We've come to the end of this video, and so our time draws to a close. The mask you see I'm wearing is a simple face mask, nothing special. It does what it needs to do, and I use it when I need to. Everyone outside is wearing some form of this, whether it be a simple surgical mask to something super expensive and fancy. And when we talk to these people, we can see their hair, their eyes, their skin color, and their voice. But we can't see their whole face, so we truly don't know what they look like. During this time, you and I have formed a relationship. By the power of this screen, we have bonded. Yet, you will never meet me, and I will never meet you. So for everyone who's watching, I think it is only fair that you know who I am. Hello, everyone. My name is Isaac. It is a pleasure to meet you all.
I understand the rules and concern of COVID-19. I get that we have to wear masks to keep ourselves safe and others safe. But how is it safe for me if I can barely breathe while wearing them? I mean, ever since I became a teenager, I've had troubles breathing due to simple allergies. My family isn't sure if it's our dog or a random tree in town, but it's here now, and it's here to stay. Before wearing a mask, I couldn't breathe out of my nose, at least not as well as I should. When I sleep, I can't sleep through my nose. I have to inhale through my mouth. And whenever I get excited, my breathing goes too fast. That's way too hard to breathe. So with the mask, I have to try and stay calm and breathe as much as I can. Whenever I'm leaving a building and I can take it off, it's like I'm breathing for the first time in years. But nothing would prepare me for the thing that would make my breath leave my chest. People were dying, getting sick. We were facing, well, almost a war. I started getting nightmares of people dying. Dying not by COVID, but other things that would happen throughout this whole thing. I worry for my family. I worry for my friends. I even worry about the people who stole my heart away. Being miles away and I can't even see them. And I pray for everyone every day at Mass, and I could cry. We may not be at war, but we are facing an inner war.
When quarantine started, I was unreasonably upset, irrationally mad. I felt like I was being robbed of something, and that it was a personal attack on me, which is dumb, but that's how I felt. As time went on and I sank deeper and deeper into depression, I questioned why I felt so attacked by something as simple as school getting shut down. I mean, I hate school, I suck at getting an education, so why did it hurt so much? It's kind of funny, because people like to make such a big deal about the concept of being home. They say things like, a house is not a home, and home is where the heart is. Which I never really understood that. The only place I feel attached to is my room. Because I can be alone, away from my family. Don't get me wrong, I love my family, and I know they love me. I just don't feel comfortable with them. I get the feeling that they don't want or interested in understanding me. It's like pulling teeth to get them to understand my world and the people in it. When I was younger, I got the impression that they didn't hate my people, they just wished they weren't so loud or open about it. What I'm getting at is, I have a very strong feeling my family wouldn't like me if I wasn't related to them. I feel like my dad wishes I was like everyone else. I feel like I know he doesn't see me for who I am. He said as much. I'll never be his son. He'll never see me for the man I am. It took my mother lecturing him to call me he when he talked about me. I feel in some way he's embarrassed by me. I mean, after all, I used to be the funny child, the one he could tell stories about at work. But now, what's he supposed to tell his friends? What's he supposed to call me? Not a son, that's for sure. It's hard to be comfortable at home when you know the people there don't understand you. Maybe they don't want to understand you. Can't understand the things you deal with, the pain you feel, the fear you have, but refuse to admit that you're more likely to be murdered than them because of who and what you are. They don't want to understand your history, that they can be a part of the life you live even if they're not like you. When they make you feel like you can't be open with them, but then make you feel bad because they're not trying to be mean, they just can't understand you. You're just different. You're just overreacting. You're just closed off, even though Their actions have made you close yourself off. You're just overreacting. At school, there were people who were willing to do things my family isn't. I'm not ashamed of my family. I'm ashamed that I can't tell them why I hate being around them, or why being stuck at home with them during quarantine feels like such a prison. Feels like I'm trapped with kind people who don't want me for all of me. When I'm not home, I'm free, I'm more open. I have friends who can and are willing to understand me. So having school get shut down is like having the only place that I can be completely open and comfortable taken away.
You know, I could sit up here and tell you the terrible moronic things that happened to me the last 7 months. Or I could tell you I just recently had COVID-19 and every day felt like I was spinning and the memories are nothing but a blur. Or I can tell you what COVID did for me. What little beauty can be seen in the darkness of 2020. My whole life had a plan. I knew what I was supposed to do, where I was supposed to go, who I was supposed to be. But even with everything laid out, none of it felt right. I didn't want to do anything anymore, and I was fading. The day they closed schools, my life imploded in more ways than one, as did everyone else's. But as the days passed endlessly, I started realizing something. I started realizing that the person I was so sure I was supposed to be wasn't who I wanted to be. I realized when I looked in the mirror, the person who was staring back wasn't who I wanted to be. I didn't want to be what everyone expected me to be. So, I decided to change and started doing and becoming the person that I wanted to be. Suddenly, my whole future changed. I was no longer going to an out-of-state college. My major changed entirely, which I can confidently say that was the best decision I could have made. Sure, there are some things I wish I could change, like, still living at home, or not having all in-person classes. But without COVID, I wouldn't be where I am today. I would be in Minneapolis doing what was expected of me, and I would be miserable. But without COVID, I wouldn't be where I am. And I can't be mad about that.
It hurts to breathe sometimes. And I don't even know why anymore. Like, is it the smoke, the problems with my lungs, the mental strain of having to see the same fucking face every single day knowing I haven't done anything worth talking about? Well, of course, I try to quiet the noise. But it's like a constant buzzing in the back of my head that I can't quite quiet. You know what it's like? It's like I'm an animal in a zoo pacing back and forth because my needs aren't being met. Like, I want to leave, but I can't. Because everyone will see that I'm upset, and they don't need to see that. They need to see the happier version of me. But, God, it's tiring. I don't know if I can keep doing it, for much longer. Keep smiling and holding back the pain and tears. I can't, why is this so hard? I don't even want to get out of bed anymore. What's the point? I'm not going to do anything. It's not going to matter. I just want to go outside. I just want to feel the sun on my face for once. Maybe I should take my dog for a walk. Maybe that'll make me feel better.
Hey, sweetie, okay?
Yeah, I'm just going for a walk. I'll be back before dark.
These high holy days have been rough this year. Between 5781, the death of RBG just before Rosh Hashanah. The Mishnah teaches that if you die just before Rosh Hashanah, it's because you're so righteous that God is waiting till the last minute before he lets you go. Along with RBG, we are losing friends and family to COVID-19. Fires, not just the Mullen fire in Walker Mead, but all over the West, are destroying our homes and making it hard for us to breathe. We also are reckoning with the racial injustice that we as a nation and world are waking up to, having slept through it for far too long. Mesecha, the Hebrew word for mask, is also the word for veil. It is appropriate that as we lifted masks onto our faces, so too is the veil hiding inequity lifted. We see the rise of anti-Semitism. We see the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. We see the inequality of the rich versus the poor, those with homes versus the homeless, witnessing the gross inequities that abound in this country. We see leaders who refuse to act, selfishly putting politics over people's lives. Not just over people's lives, even over our planet, as they roll back safety measures for our water and our air as unnecessary regulatory burdens. Yom Kippur is a time for teshuvah, return. We seek not to return to where we left, but to righteousness. We seek tikkun olam, world repair. This is how we move forward. We must proclaim that Black Lives Matter, care for our fellow humans, and seek to preserve our environment. We also pray for refuah shlema, a total healing, physical and spiritual. All of those not just in our congregation, but all lives around the world touched by the COVID pandemic. Today, on this most sacred of days, as we seek to be sealed in the book of life, we reaffirm our holy obligation to heal the world, not just in 5781, but for all time. When COVID goes away and the masks come down, let us not allow the veil to come back up now.
I don't know. My head tells me to write so I can finally sleep. Write down these circling thoughts in my head, but I don't know. As soon as I sit down to catch them and throw them onto the page, they run and hide under the cabinet. And what's it like playing hide and seek with your thoughts? You never win. You still have to find them. And once you found them, you still have to face them. So what's better? Letting them be in your head, painting it as their canvas with whatever they want? Or facing them, which makes it worse for a while, but then it's better. And you know, once you've faced them, 3 new ones appear. The music stopped for a moment, and I unintentionally mirrored it, sitting completely still and quiet, lifting the pen from the paper just to listen to nothing. And even though it was silent, the room felt peaceful and present, and not quite as heavy as the moment before. That's what I've been missing lately, the feeling of being present. And for that short moment, there was no thoughts claiming every part of my brain, no ghosts of the past haunting me, no fear of the future, all in my head. It was just 2 or 3 seconds, but it felt like minutes. You know, the demons have been in control for too long, and they'll gain control back soon. But Those 3 seconds are the light at the end of the tunnel, the hope that I can do better, that I can be better. And sometimes I fall back into this habit, the habit of not wanting to try or be better or make a change. But today I will. Today I will be better, I will make a change, and I will keep fighting.
Am I really leaving Arizona? Why would I leave such a beautiful place? Why leave my friends and such beauty? All I see is a two-lane road staring back at me, and with it, I feel like my life is like an onion. The further I get away from Arizona, the more that onion just peels away till it reaches the center, and there's nothing left of me. Nothing left but fear and disappointment in having to move back to Wyoming. I get to the avenues and I pull up to my new house on Capitol Avenue, and God, it's so small, I don't even think I can fit my SUV in the garage. I open a steel gate, look at my backyard, and all I see is desolate disappointment. There's no grass, just dirt all around me. And the trees are taking over the yard. Big, huge cottonwoods that are half dead and have lost their luster. I go back inside and think, I need a sanctuary. I need at least a part of me that can get away from COVID and the fact that I moved back to this god-awful state. I need somewhere where I can sit and have serenity. Where I can use all of my senses, look around this majestic garden and think, this is my heaven. This is my safe place where I can pretend I don't live in Wyoming. No, I live in a magical garden that gives me peace, and I can forget these devastating times that we are living in. I find myself wanting this garden, so I start digging out the dirt and begin the work that needs to be done. I start calling landscapers, tree removal professionals, and just about anyone I can get my hands on that can turn this muck into my magical garden. Once I find the right team of professionals that can get the job done, the transformation begins. When those 2 huge cottonwoods are removed, the garden finally has a heartbeat. And it tells me to keep going and don't look back. I can finally start to see the opportunities arising in this back garden when those 2 trees are gone. It'll be spectacular. It'll be calling my name and giving me the full inner peace that my soul needs. In the end, the garden is marvelous, and it holds the key to getting through these tragic times. I have never enjoyed such beauty. It's like all of my senses are on overdrive. And when I walk into my back garden, I feel safe. I feel a purge of happiness, and it makes me erase the idiocy of today's society. I sincerely believe a person needs something to hold on to bring some sort of peace within their inner self. More or less a safe haven that lifts them with hope. So with planting my herbs, vegetables, and my variety of flowers, it brings me a sense of togetherness. And it makes me smile when people walk by on Capitol Avenue and give me, within response, a sense of happiness, always waving and smiling while walking by. One woman made me smile when she told me, "Your house, when I drive by, brings me such happiness. It's so vibrant and tended with care." Another lady, when she was walking by with her baby stroller, told me, "Your house is the most beautiful house on the block. Your flowers are so colorful and full of life. Thank you for bringing such a positive energy to the block." For me, it's just a little garden, but for others, if they walk, bike ride, or even drive by, my hope is that it brings us together. That this garden can bring a smile, a tear, laughter, or even comfort to someone going through these tragic times. Then my job is complete. My garden is not just a garden, it's hope. Hope that these times shall pass, and beauty and love will prevail.
I just couldn't please her. No matter what I did to make her happy, just wasn't enough. The amount of physical and emotional pain I took just so she could be free of it, none of it amounted to anything. I lost my job 2 months after COVID hit. I wasn't making any money. I searched tirelessly, but nothing caught. My funds started running low, and she started getting grumpy. I asked her to get a job to help contribute, but how dare I? How dare I ask for anything in return? Losing a job was the worst thing I could have ever done to her. She started getting angry, and I started becoming irritable. I reached my limit. I started staying over at my brother's house, and during the day when she would go out and run her errands, I would lock myself in my bedroom. But she started noticing. She would say that I was avoiding her. I still remember the way my chest burned when she spoke to me. I just held my head in my hands and told her, I love you. And all she said was, so. And I felt my heart tear itself up inside. I told her I should have stopped loving her a long time ago when she stopped loving me. But she scoffed at me. I'd never felt so terrible in my life. I remember telling her that I loved her so much that it was killing me. I was letting her kill me. I told her everything I had done for her and how every little thing just wasn't enough. Before leaving the apartment, I told her since I so clearly couldn't make her happy, she could do it herself. And I took a 2-hour walk to my brother's, where he let me crash for the night. And the next day, he took me to get my car and my essentials. I left everything else behind. it felt like I had just cut off a limb. I kept trying to make myself regret what I did, but then I look at my brother and his fiance, and they're so happy together. And sure, they fight, but it never lasts long. I want that for myself. And I'm glad I didn't stay with what I had.
I feel a pressing need to tell you in as broad as a term as I possibly can. I storge you. I agape you. I love you. Because in this broad, mundane, lifeless world, void of expression and creativity, I find myself without the words to say, nor convey my fondness for your being. You shine as bright as the sun on a warm spring day. You breathe as soft as a cool breeze. You smile as warm as a gentle crackling of a campfire. You laugh as inviting as the quiet rush of a forest stream. You are beautiful. When I first learned of Valentine, I scoffed. No fool could brave the lion's den for a traitor. Yet he did. Valentine had love. Valentine held love close to his heart, like the subtle ebb and flow of energizing breaths before the leap of faith. Valentine had faith. He felt his faith like he knew his numbers, his language. Valentine had strength. He tensed himself before the pit and prepared to jump for the good of a man whom he had trusted, whom had hurt him. I see now that Valentine is stronger than half the saints canonized. There is a reason he, above all saints, is remembered, immortalized in the true spirit of February 14th. The Greeks found no less than 7 words for love. And English is one of the few languages that has no distinction for love. Perhaps that's part of our problem. When you say a word too many times, it loses its meaning. Perhaps love has lost its meaning. Perhaps we need to find new words, new ways to say it. Perhaps I shall try. I am happy because you exist. I live because I know you live. I want you to want for nothing. I want to give you everything you have ever dreamed of. I wish you knew how beautiful you are. I wish you every happiness. Or perhaps I could try, you are beautiful. You are brilliant. You are a star pulling in others to your orbit. You cannot help but be fascinating. You are unforgettable. You are powerful. You have saved my life many times over. If I have learned nothing else, life is a cruel lottery of choices and unfortunate events. 20 D20s rolled for every decision. You happen to make those dice rolls that much better. So as you spend the rest of your February, I hope you think of me. You think of Valentine. That you think of love. All the best. All my love. P.S. Good luck.
So, who are you, and what do you do?
We are a flame. We spread. We're dangerous. Some call us harmful, but we are truly helpful. We are not vengeful. We are not cruel. The problem is when too many leaves fall around the roots, they start to pile up. And that is where we spread. That is where we grow, and that is where we ignite. We burn the tallest trees to make room for new ones to grow and blossom. And some are afraid of this. Because it's true that we've hurt many in our time, but to heal the wounds of the world, we must first burn it to the ground. Some stand in our way, and they will be burned. Others hide from us. But if you try, you will be burned too. While it's fun to dream of flames, it is hard to set the world on fire on purpose, though. It hurts. But what are we to do? Sit back and watch the world decay when we know we can do something to help? I don't think so.
And what happens when you're gone?
When we're gone. Some use us for power. They offer relief to those who have been burned and call us the work of devils. But we are no demon or angel, but doctors to treat the gashes left to fester. We're not evil. We only wish to bring change. There are many who wear the facade of aid, saying they're willing to burn everything to the ground. They act like us, but they are not us. They are no different than the self-righteous people of the world, though they could be used as kindling. There are some who wear our mask. They look like us, but they are not us. They use this as an excuse to bring fear about us. Because what's more frightening than the unknown and different? The unknown is real. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And change is not bad. Different is not bad. Difference spices the gruel that you are fed on a daily basis. Because without the unknown and different, we wouldn't have science or thought beyond our day-to-day lives. After all, the unknown awaits us.
And why are people afraid of you?
Change can be terrifying. But unlike those who oppose us, we don't deal with the phrase, if you're not with us, you're against us. But be warned, what will happen will not be pretty. So like I said, if you stand in our way, you will be burned. If you try to run, we will be vindicated. If you try to hide in the dark, and ignore our existence, you'll eventually have to come to the realization that we are here, we are coming, and we are light. If you stay out of our way, we will pass you by. But if you stand with us, you will be able to know that you stood for something transcendent. You will be able to say that you took the flame and made a change.
Rita was a vibrant woman. Tales of her cooking, the aromas that stopped the neighbors. Her house parties were the envy of North Circular. Stories of her on her bicycle with two of her children, one strapped on her back and the other balanced on the crossbar, plus groceries for the night's dinner. Anecdotes of the dog as it chomped a bite out of her daughter's wedding cake. Rita chased it through the house with a rolling pin until it ran straight through the glass window in fear. Since March, we've only seen her through her glass window. She spun her own yarns, both figurative and literal. Nothing scared her. Since March, she has been scared of COVID, of losing family, of dying, but especially of dying alone. She was the neighborhood mum. Hers was the afternoon haunt of the local kids and teens. She was both nurse and confidant to new mothers who would call by, a list of their child's ailments in hand, and hope and trust that Rita would know what to do. She handled broken bones and blood with the same calm demeanor as cooking spatchcock chicken or bacon and cabbage. Since March, she calls for a nurse simply to pee. She sang, "Are ye right there, Michael, are ye right?" brought giggles from the grandchildren, and her rendition of Danny Boy tugged tears out of the most stoic Irish farmer. But those times of singing are of an aforetime era, replaced now with weakening shouts of Pogue Mahone, masturbation, and shite. Jimmy says that she hates that she can't stop these words. They just punch right through. He says the old songs come harder and harder to her memory. Since March, we've watched, near helpless, as her body grows frailer. Her mouth, it hangs open. Glub, glub, glub of a goldfish through the glass. Eyes glassed over. Floating. Uncomprehending. Since March, she lives in her world and we live in ours. Separated only by the pain of glass. Yet unbreachable, unbreathable, unbearable. You're right, Rita. It is all shite.